stakes are high and needs are more complex when running an established consumer products brand. You've got mounting pressures across multi-channel sales, complex supply chains, inventory across multiple warehouses, and leadership needs fast, accurate data to make decisions. That's why leading brands partner with Baker Tilly, an accounting firm that specializes in the consumer product space. Their team understands the unique challenges of scaling product-based businesses, whether it's navigating transactions confidently, sales tax compliance, integrating ERP systems like NetSuite, or predictive analytics. Baker Tilly delivers. Discover how Baker Tilly's industry-focused services can help elevate your business. Visit bakertilly.com.
Hello, everyone. How was lunch? If you're feeling it, you should crack open the Life Cider. This has got me buzzed right now. Shout out to John and his company. My name is Brady Edwards. I'm the founder of Biggest Agency, and for 2 years I was the video director of the world's largest YouTube channel called Mr. Beast. Most people have heard about it at this point. And if you haven't, the premise of the show is kind of spectacle philanthropy, crazy stunts, the most outrageous thing you've never seen before. And the channel grew rapidly in the last 5 years, but it was a channel that didn't grow for a long time in the 2010s. And it's a pretty crazy story. So that's not what I want to tell you about. I want to tell you about a $4.8 million lesson that I learned while I was there. So for context, we do these crazy videos, and we thought, well, let's do a live stream. Like, how fun would that be? So the premise was pretty straightforward. We get Jimmy, Mr. Beast's name is Jimmy, and we get him and the boys, and they're going to do a live stream. And the premise is anybody that buys a t-shirt or a hoodie, we're going to hand sign it on the live stream. So they're going to get hand signed merch from their favorite creator. We're like, oh, this is great. It's a slam dunk. The t-shirts were $42, so $4.20, and the hoodies were $69, and we thought we were hilarious. It was all fun and games until we accidentally sold 68,337 units in 8 hours. So that was a nightmare. The numbers kind of broke everything. It derailed 9 shoots that we had already lined up and pretty much paid for. It took 2 months to actually fulfill on this, and it was ultimately all the money that we made, the $4.8 million, went into all of the opportunity costs of actually fulfilling on it. But before we could ever even get to the signing, the first thing we had to do was build the set. So my team and I, we did what most people do. We built a version that made the most sense with the information that we had. So we got a few shelves from Home Depot, we got a signing table, a couple hundred shirts, and then we went to town. We called Jimmy in. We're like, hey man, come on in. It's great. Ready to go. Start signing. Jimmy walks in. He looks around and he says, what the hell is this? We're like, it's your set, Jimmy. He goes, it needs to be way bigger than just a couple shelves. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right. So we rebuild. I send my team with a U-Haul and I say, go to every Home Depot in North Carolina and give me all of these rugged, garage shelves. Bring them all back. Let's build something crazy. So they do, all over North Carolina. We get them all and we go, okay, Jimmy said bigger, right? So we're going to build these 2-story staircases of shelves, and we're going to fill them with merch. And so we had like 50 of them. We're like, this is it. We nailed it. So we called Jimmy in. We say, Jimmy, check it out. We're ready to rock. He walks in. He sees all the staircases filled with thousands of shirts, and he looks at us and he goes, well, I thought I said make it bigger. What is this? We're like, oh, well, we thought it was bigger. And it wasn't. So he said, go back. Get it done again. So we send teams to Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, all with U-Hauls. We clean out every Lowe's, every Home Depot, and we get over 300 of these shelves. We pull them all together. Jimmy walks in, and finally we had achieved success. Okay, so we started with a shelf, and after 3 different iterations, we landed on the cube. And Jimmy was happy. We filmed the video. Everything was great, other than the $4.8 million opportunity cost. But here's the point of this that sticks with me to this day. We couldn't get to the cube until we first built the shelf. So most people, now that I've seen as a new founder of an agency that focuses just on podcasts, I'm seeing that most people are starting with the shelf and they're not really going any further, right? Because it feels good enough or it's functional, and no one's telling them that, hey, you can push this thing further. You don't maybe have a Jimmy in your ear saying, I need you to 10x this, right? The truth about this is that anything worth doing is worth doing over and over again, right? The first version's never wrong. It's just unfinished. And so if you've built businesses, you've built reputations, you've built a point of view in the industry that you're in, so you know exactly what I mean, right? You all think this way in the context of your businesses, right? So you've iterated products, you have scaled up your ops, you have tested and grown teams, made hard calls, and you've optimized for the outcomes that you have today. But when it comes to content, right, which I hate that word, I think it's so boring. Content really means storytelling, and you hear content so much, it's kind of this like glib thing, but it's storytelling, right? So when people, founders, when they approach content, most of them are treating it like a one-off experiment. Oh, we did it, my EA told me I gotta film short. It felt weird, I'm not doing it again. My CMO was like, hey, we got a social media team, can you pop in on one? And that's it, it's a one-off experiment. The reality is that you would never build your company that way. So if you approach this content thing in the exact same manner and same modality, well, you can imagine the results that you would not get. So I'm gonna put it like this. Christopher Hitchens once said, everybody has a book inside them, which is exactly where it should, I think, stay for the most part. And maybe podcasting is the same thing, but the difference with this room is that all of you are subject matter experts, right? That's why you're here. You know something that most people do not. If I were to look at the landscape, this whole content thing has been really the last 15 years. I would say up until 2020, the majority of videos have been 97% entertainment, artistic, goofy, and kind of idiots. And then 3% was this expert class, people that really knew their stuff. And so you would go there and be like, teach me this thing. That has, in the last 5 years, kind of shifted. Now that expert voice class is really more like 10%. And people are able to look at the opportunity and go, hang on, I know stuff. And you're telling me that this global audience is interested in what I have to say. But that's not even the tip of the iceberg on what's happening right now. You are all sitting on a gold mine because you all know things that most people don't. And I'll give you an example. So I'll start with this. You don't need to become a content creator, right? You already are one. You just have yet to hit record for the most part. So I'll ask you a question. Have you ever had a team member ask you something over and over and over again, and then finally they get it, and they go, man, I wish we'd recorded that. Okay, that's content. You ever gotten a $500,000 problem in front of you on a whiteboard, and you figure it out, but then 2 months you have to explain it again? That moment's content. If you've ever had to repeat the same lesson to your sales team, over and over again about your brand or this policy, that is content. These are substantive lessons that over the course of scaling your operation, you have learned. And while it may just feel very obvious to you, most people do not even come close to understanding the things that you do. So therein lies the opportunity. You have stories, you have frameworks, ways of solving problems, you have credibility, and you have scars. Most people on the internet don't have any of those things. They just talk a good game, and then they're funny. And you're like, oh, cool, I'll go watch that guy. So the thing that you may not have yet is a system in order to turn your wisdom and your lived experience into reach. So the real question isn't oh, okay, sure, I should do this, but what should I make content about? I don't think that's the question. I think the question is, I have to do this slide totally differently now, that's fun. What do I understand and believe that someone else would genuinely appreciate knowing? And that's where real content begins. It's not about virality. And so if you're kind of on the outside looking in on this landscape, it tends to, you got to have a viral video. If you want a viral video, do Minecraft or trick shots. If you want to establish your voice and your credibility, focus on clarity. Podcasts can go viral, but that's not really their purpose. Their purpose is to make you a thought leader in a space that you already know everything about. And it's incredible. So you have a vantage point that people in your industry right now want to hear, whether you're in fulfillment, or you're in CPG, whatever it is. You know that industry, and you know where it's moving, you know what's happening, you know how the tariffs are going to impact it. And a lot of people don't, but they're in the same space. They just don't know as much as you do. So what innovations are you seeing, and what are the conditions on the ground? I want you to start having your wheels turn, because this is how we approach it with our clients. The bottom line is that people don't follow ideas, they follow personalities, right? Like you've all seen, you get a piece of content on Instagram, and you're like, oh, that dude's sharp, but he's largely like forgettable. It didn't like stick. But then you'll get someone who's not actually saying anything new at all. But for some reason, it sticks with you, and you're like, I really enjoyed that. So what is that? What is the distinguishing factor? Because how something lands is very different from what's being said. So I'll give you, like, imagine you're at home, and you go, I need to hang a floating shelf. If you don't know how to do that, that's fine. But let's say that you do, I got to, tell me how to get it on the drywall. So you go to YouTube, someone's gonna teach me that. Well, what you're gonna get is 100 videos of handymen teaching you how to hang something or a floating shelf. You go through one, and within 2 minutes, you're like, it's not this guy. Second video, third video. The fifth one, somebody is finally fluent in your language. And so that's kind of a nuanced thing to understand, but it's like he's teaching the same thing, right, as the last four dudes. Yeah, but that guy's fluent in you. Like he understands how to speak to you, whether he realized it or not. And so that is the power in understanding that, yes, there's gonna be somebody else that's probably gonna talk about what you talk about, but they're not you. And that's not a platitude. That is the differentiator between you developing this signal and then you just going, yeah, I don't know, it's not for me. So expertise, it's objectively common, right? But clarity is rare. So you figure out how to refine what it is you need to say. And clarity isn't just about information, it's really about conviction, right? It's what makes people lean in, and it's what creates loyalty. I'm gonna give you an example, might divide the room. Donald Trump, especially this week, holy cow. He didn't necessarily go viral from being on CNN. In this past election season, he did something that nobody else has done. He went on podcasts, like a lot of them, right? He went on Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman, Flagrant. He went on Theo Vaughn. And there was something unbelievable that happened as a result of this. He sat down, he did the long form conversation, there was no plan, it was unguarded. And what he did is he let somebody see him and not these like talking head sound bites. But for 3 hours, you got to see the guy that you were evaluating whether or not I'm going to vote for him. And so you were able to understand something completely different about the guy. And for whatever reason, that swung the outcome of the election. Like in no small part, right? Obama, 2008. Social media was the first time it came into play, and you could see the direct compounding effect of him doing social media campaigns. Okay, great, established fact. 2016, same thing with Trump. 2020 with the Biden administration. So we know social media is an arrow in the quiver. But 2024 was different. That was the moment that podcasting completely changed the outcome of something that's now affecting all of us. And it was remarkable to say, yeah, it was viewed like tens of millions of times, maybe even hundreds. But the clips from those episodes were seen billions of times. It's really hard to just, beyond an anecdote, express how insane that was and how it's ultimately put us where we are now. So conviction is the new charisma, and the more that people see your conviction and what it is you do, the better it's going to go. Okay. So I've got a room here of a lot of people, very charismatic. Everybody's an expert. Most people are thinking like, yeah, okay, but I'm like not great in front of the camera, so it's not really for me. The reality is that people who sound natural on camera, most of the time didn't start that way. The only difference is they just recorded more and they risked more. They put themselves out there with no guarantee as to how it was going to be received. They just kind of did it, right? It's like the first day in the gym. You don't know where the weights are. What is this machine? Everybody's looking at me. It's the first day in the gym. But the difference is if you commit to recording more, doing more, and finding your voice, you're going to develop something that will outlive you, and you will build this digital footprint that is undeniable. And it pre-qualifies people because they trust you before they ever even meet you. And I got a few case studies that I'm going to talk about. But before I do that, I want to tell you this practice that I give my clients. And this is kind of the freebie, so feel free to take notes of it, because this will allow you to take that first step into maybe starting to get more comfortable with this idea. It is this. It's called the rep challenge. So the first thing you do when you're at your hotel room or whatever else is you're going to pull out your phone. No, not that slide. You're going to pull out your phone. You're going to record yourself for 2 minutes. You're going to speak about one thing that you believe fervently about your industry. You don't have to script it, right? You're just going to turn the camera on and just riff. and then you watch it back. You can post it, you don't have to post it, but the most important thing you need to ask yourself as you're watching it back is this me when I'm clear? Because when you're in that flow state, right, you're in the board meeting, you're with your team, you're bringing somebody on, you're hiring them, it is very clear to you all of the things that you need to say because it's there. But when the camera's on you, it's a little bit different, right? Maybe you felt that before, right? Show of hands, has anyone ever tried filming content of themselves before? Yeah, it's like half the room. So it's like a little weird. I have a film studio in Scottsdale, and I've got the most polished people, and they come in, and they're like, there's a lot of lights. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of lights, you're fine. And they're like, I don't know, it's a lot of lights. So this is how you learn to trust your delivery, and then you refine it over time. It is the gym. You're not putting up 200 pounds the first day, but over time, you will refine it. And you don't need to get in there and like edit it. You need to just be okay with being you. Not with polish, but with presence. So I want to show you a few different numbers right now because so far I've said, hey, podcasting is a really big deal. Look at all these great case studies, but it's not really clear probably exactly what's happening. And because it's my industry and a few of us in here in the room, we're seeing these sorts of numbers every day going, holy cow, it has never looked like this before. For one, global podcasting is a $47.8 billion industry, and it was not this even 3 years ago. And last month, for the first time ever, YouTube reported that over 1 billion people watch podcasts specifically on YouTube. It's an eighth of the planet. It's pretty freaking wild. The second thing I want to point out is that there has been this bizarre trend line that has happened, and YouTube has some kind of peripheral explanations for it, but 400 million hours of podcast content are now being watched in people's living rooms. And I think it was last year, YouTube announced that 60% of all watching on YouTube is happening in the living room. For the first time ever, you go, oh, YouTube, you're watching it on your phone, in the bathroom, but on a break. No, most of it's happening in people's houses. And it's strange, but it's starting to supplant TV, starting to supplant Netflix. In fact, the Nielsen ratings rated YouTube at 11.9% of global viewership. Netflix is at 8%, by the way. I mean, it's really bananas what's happening. So when we look at all of these numbers, we realize people aren't just watching cat videos anymore, right? They're streaming full-length episodes with their families. They're watching Dude Perfect. They're watching their favorite shows. They're watching Mr. Beast. And they're consuming business content. This is just happening right now. It's really nuts. So YouTube is no longer just this kind of like fun, goofy entertainment YouTube square. It's become the town square. So I'll show you what it can look like as an example. And there's that slide. This is fun. There's an obscure Canadian psychologist, and most of us have heard of him. But in 2012, he wasn't like the Jordan Peterson that we know now. He was lecturing at a university, and he just thought, it'd be funsies. I'm going to stick my camera in the back of my lecture hall, and I'm just going to record it because sometimes my students don't come to class. So I'll post it on YouTube. That was it. That is the inception of Jordan Peterson. He's just going to post it. And he kept doing it. And over time, people said, this guy, he speaks to me in a way that like makes me want to better my life, which I guess is novel for a professor. And over time, people really started to appreciate his message. Be a man, clean up your room, be a warrior in a garden, find your strength. And he now, just from posting consistently on YouTube over enough period of time, became Jordan Peterson. But it wasn't because he was doing anything, differently or trying to put on a performance. He just documented what he already knew. And that's it. And so, I speak in different rooms, and it's not obvious to me that those people are like, they really know anything overly significant. This is that room. This room knows a significant amount of things. And it's relative to your niche, to your industry. But you know what? You're not the only one in that space. And if you can establish yourself as a subject matter expert and you get really fun at delivering it, you will dominate the space. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what it is we recommend doing. You don't have to do anything crazy. If you do 15 shorts a week, you're missing the point. Quantity is not the move. For us at our agency, we do a full-length episode every week. You get a trailer, a few shorts, and that's it. Consistency rules more than anything else, and here's why. Every platform is a walled garden. The last thing YouTube wants is to lose you to Instagram. TikTok has no interest in you going over to Twitter. Their goal is to keep you on as long as possible. That's their only goal. So as a creator, you're either going to help the platform achieve that goal, or you're going to introduce friction and you're not helping the platform achieve that goal, right? So relative to YouTube, YouTube is an interruption platform. Spotify's a permission platform, right? You open Spotify, you've given it permission to give you recommendations. YouTube, the entire ethos of YouTube is, yeah, I went there to learn how to hang the floating shelf. But in the suggested column, there's 5 videos that I had no idea was like, I'm super interested in. So YouTube is designed to interrupt your regular scroll state. It's designed to put something in front of you that you don't know. So as a creator, as someone that's sitting there going, I'm a business owner, I know my stuff, dang, maybe I am a creator, I just haven't hit record. In that position, you go, okay, am I gonna help the platform achieve its goal? And if I can, they're gonna cut me in on the money. And if I can, they're gonna help me amplify my voice and allow me to become a subject matter expert in this thing that I'm really good at. So we focus on figuring out what the magic that is in you and how to package it and bring it to people. There's no fluff, there's no AI slop, none of that. It's signal, infrastructure, proof. So most founders do plan on, in some form or fashion, intend to be remembered, right? That's why you build a business. But most aren't really willing to record themselves. I talk with founders all the time, and they've been building their business for 20 years, and I'm like, cool, like we're gonna put your thing together. You got any pictures? And they're like, oh, I don't know, I have like 5. I'm like, you've been doing this for 20 years, and you have like 5 pictures. And most people are they're so focused on what it is that they're doing that creating that legacy, that hallway of memories, it's just not a priority, right? Because you got to grow the company. So the way that we look at it is you don't know what's going to happen next. And I think most people right now are saying, yeah, I don't know if I should be spending time doing that because there is all kinds of chaos. There's volatility, there's tariffs, and it's an uncertain time. I need to really focus on what's right in front of me. One thing is clear, though, is that people who are going to bet on their voice right now are going to be extremely glad that they did. I look at it as like the great financial crisis, 2008, right? Like if you knew what you knew now, you would be buying up houses like crazy in 2008. That's what you would be doing. So we look at it like that, but in the context of relevance. People feel that iPhone is kind of the dominant force in the online landscape, but 70% of smartphones in the world are Android. Android owns YouTube. So every single Android phone, the majority of the world get their phone, and it comes pre-installed with the #1 video app in the world. And so if you can now build, you will stay relevant, you will create relevance, and you will create this version of you that you haven't even tried yet, and it will last for decades. In 3 years' time, my clients are gonna have 150 episodes. They're gonna have hundreds and hundreds of shorts. They're gonna have a digital body of work, and they're gonna have a reputation that scales for them without ever being in the room. That's pretty hard to put a price on. But I'll give you an example, pretty local example. It's a very sophisticated room, so the example will probably resonate. Show of hands, who's listened to the All In podcast before? Yeah, it's amazing. If you haven't, I would recommend downloading it, every episode, the last 5 at least, and checking it out, right? So the All In podcast is 4 best friends. You have Chamath Palihapitiya, David Sachs, David Freeberg, and Jason Calacanis. 2 are centimillionaires and 2 are billionaires. If you recognize the second guy, David Sachs is the AI and crypto czar of the White House now in the Trump administration. But they started their show in 2020, which is crazy. They did it in the middle of the pandemic. And they were just 4 friends. They're all like quarantined. We all went through that. And they said, what if we just like got on a Zoom call and we talked about what was going on? And then we publish it and we see what happens. So you would think if I was at a coffee shop and 2 billionaires and 2 centimillionaires are sitting there, I'd want to hear what they have to say, right? They post the first episode, it's probably going to rip. It did not. It took like 2 years. But now it is the #1 business podcast in the world. They've had Elon Musk, they've had Zuckerberg, they have had the craziest, they've had Trump on. And now one of the guys on the show, he's in the White House, and they shape taste in Silicon Valley, Wall Street, and Capitol Hill. And this happened in 5 years, guys. They didn't change who they were, though. They just existed as they were with some friends that had similar interests, and they hit record. That is it. And they kept doing it, right? It's not going to happen overnight. But people say, okay, well, listen, man, they were talking about the pandemic. We were all trying to figure out what was happening in the pandemic. They had this opportunity, they aligned, they nailed it. The chaos window created that opportunity, right? So to that I would say, look around, like look at the announcements that are happening right now. We don't know what's happening in markets. There's market volatility every day. China is now getting tariffed 125%. There is so much volatility and chaos happening right now. So if you don't think we're in that exact same kind of window, where people that don't know what to think would love to hear your opinion. I don't know what to tell you. But we are sitting on top of a gold mine, and we are in a room full of experts. People want to hear your voice. So this is the window, and it is wide open for anybody who chooses to move now. All right, so COVID created an asymmetric window for media dominance. In this moment, I would argue it could be even bigger. So my thought on this in closing, oh, cool, that's fun. All right. I could talk about Mr. Beast stories all day, which is fun, but it doesn't really pertain to you. I'm not trying to tell you you need to be the next Mr. Beast. He's a one of one. Don't do that. I'm saying that you need to figure out you, but documented, sharpened, and published, right? There's a reason that billionaires are starting shows left and right. There's a reason that influencers are now getting funded. And there's a reason that every smart founder you know is suddenly starting to get on camera. It's because it is happening right now. And in 3 years' time, you'll be mad at yourself if you don't do it. But here's the difference, is like the people that are starting it, they're not waiting to be understood, or they're not waiting to have somebody tell them, hey, there's no two ways around it, you gotta do it now, right? They are syndicating their thinking now, while the window is open, right? So it's not about vanity, guys, it's about velocity. My last thought is, you've all already built your shelf. I would invite you to go and build your cube. And yeah, that's it. Slide malfunctions and all.
All right, any questions for Brady?
You're good.
Okay, anyone?
Thank you so much. How do you cut through all the noise? Because there is an opportunity, but like there's a flood of new content and new podcasters. I launched a podcast this year called The Real F Word. It's all about failure and entrepreneurship. Awesome. And I just don't want the podcast to be a case study in failure. So can you talk a little tactically about how to set yourself apart in all this noise?
You're asking a question probably everybody in the room is thinking. The statistic is that I think it's 92% of shows that are started, specifically in this vector, fail after 7, or they stop at 7. Because lo and behold, it is not easy to do. You know, because if it's just you on your own, now in addition to being a founder of this great company, you have to be an audio expert, and you have to know aperture, f-stop, shutter speed, like you have to know all of these things, right? So the amount of friction that gets you to that point, most people stop at 7. The key is to persist. So Jimmy, it was the weirdest thing. During COVID, he kind of forced me under house arrest, and I had to live with him for 2 months because we didn't know what COVID was. We were terrified. So you live with him, and every single day you just get these weird anecdotes. And you know, he now says it in his podcast, but he says, you know, you don't really understand how to make a good video until you do like 100 of them. I can't tell you what it's like to climb Mount Everest until you do it yourself. I'll just be like, yeah, it was crazy. It was cold. But if you experience what it means to make 100 videos, like I made thousands, and so everything I say is going to be an anecdote. But if you get that lived experience of going, I've hit 100, and at 101, I fundamentally understand why these 4 videos worked, and the 96 before that didn't. You're going to get the data, and I think that's probably what makes us different, is we know how to read the data of all your channels' analytics. YouTube is incredible. It tells you all kinds of stuff. Spotify, not so much. Apple Podcasts, not so much. But if you can grit it out, you're going to beat 92% of other people. So it's going to seem like, yeah, okay, that's kind of a glib answer, but grit, and then the right strategy, right strategist, I would say.
With my position at work, we don't have like a hired social media person, but we're really trying to make a push to be more digital and be in Reels. The hard thing is that it's not my full focus. So it's really like a side thing, so I guess my question is, and I'm sure a lot of people wonder this, if they don't have full time to fully devote to this, like what are the main things that you would focus on?
Really good question. Specifically in the context of like doing your show. Most of our clients, so we're in Scottsdale, and I have a few clients there in Arizona. Most are out of state. So what we do is this. We say, hey, look, once a quarter, make a weekend out of this. Fly down. We have a large network of people that we can get on their shows. Most people just get people to fly in with them. and for 2 days you film 12 episodes. You're set for a quarter of the year. So batching is kind of become, in the context of, social media, just sit down and do 40 shorts. If you do 12 episodes in a podcast, you can get shorts for 3 months, and then you have 12 episodes, right? The shorts have become 70% of our clients, 70% of their views rather, are coming from shorts, and it spills over to long form. It's really crazy. So if you can do that and just allocate a weekend, now you're set for the quarter. So that would be the way to scale up a business and be very involved, and then also say, I can't turn this down. I've got to make time for it. JL in the back, he's flying in Friday? Yeah, we're doing 6 episodes on Friday. Yeah.
Running out of content. I mean, if you're in a niche industry, and you hit the wall pretty quick on what you talk about, counsel someone that might have that problem.
Sure. What industry?
It could be an XYZ widget company that might service some small sector of an auto industry. They're going to want to put stuff out, but they want to be the top of their industry. Any counsel on that?
So imagine the conversation that you have with your partners, and recognize that you guys aren't the only ones in the space, right? But if the two of you are talking about, we have to deal, there's this difficulty in getting struts, right? We're dealing with this difficulty in the supply chain. There are going to at least be 10,000 people that are in a comparable industry. So instead of saying, here's 5 things about chassis that you didn't know, instead talk about the actual conditions on the ground. And be like, we talk about, and it doesn't matter if this random person has no context for it. It's not for them. Again, the goal is not to go viral necessarily. It's to be the clearest voice on the subject. And so over time, you figure out, okay, well, great, we're having a hard time acquiring transmissions, right? If we're using the car example. Transmissions are really difficult. We have a hard time getting pistons. And the reason behind that, you call it a half hour, you have a research assistant aggregate some talking points for you, or you just have stinking ChatGPT do it. Well, the reason is we have the Suez Canal, and we have dealt with this incredible constraint, right? Because we have all of these war fighters that are now starting to force all of these shipping routes to go around the Cape of Africa, right? So now all of these factors, and people aren't looking that far ahead, but you in your position have a sophistication to say, I am seeing a much bigger picture, and most people are just getting kind of a couple pixels, right? So if you can help them chunk up, as we call it in neurolinguistic programming, chunk up and say, there's a much bigger playing field, and I didn't even see these 7 factors. And then suddenly you're providing people this incredible value. And so there is that tendency where it's like, I'm going on YouTube. Here's 5 things that, you want to watch out when you're ordering pistons. It's like, no. Talk to me about the acquisition process, right? And the supply chain issues. And suddenly the people that are interested in this, you become the dominant voice. You ride that wave for 100 episodes, you're now the guy. And then from there, you can talk about whatever it is you want because you have created trust out of the gate. This whole process is incredible because I say this a lot. You're developing a one-sided best friendship. I think about my favorite creators, and if I were to see them on the street, I'd be like, dude, I know you, and you have no idea who I am, but I know you, right? And there's a bond, and they are pre-qualified in my mind. So Feastables is a great example, right? Beast, we did almost no advertising for it, but they did $600 million in revenue last year. So they had a captive audience, they had the subscriber base, and then they could market the product to them. No sales team, no marketing, CMO. So yeah, that's the end goal. I'm not saying deploy chocolate. I'm saying the goal is just be so trusted by talking about these things that a few people are interested in, and then follow it as it goes. Great question, thank you.
Hi, so if I wanted to start a podcast, could I do audio only, or how important is it to have video as part of it?
Really good question. So 3 things have happened in the podcasting space, and I'd say, there's been shows, right? Like Joe Rogan started 15 years ago. It really only became relevant in the last 5 years. The first reason is COVID. Everyone went, I don't trust CNN, I don't trust Fox, I need some kind of, I need to hear it from a doctor for 3 hours. So a lot of people found their way into the podcast space because of COVID. The second exponential jump happened because of AI. And people were like, I'm getting AI content everywhere. I just need people. I want people connection. I want to hear a good conversation between smart people or comedians for 3 hours. The third thing was the election. So what's happened is the threshold of what was acceptable in a podcast has also changed. So while audio only may have worked maybe for a while, it was kind of meant to supplant, be your own radio station. Now there have been so many established case studies. You've got really successful shows Most of them have video. I'm on the treadmill at the gym. I like watching too. They're sitting in chairs. They're not juggling, but for some reason I really like watching it. So I would not do a podcast unless you're incorporating video. And the surprising thing is the All In podcast, it is, again, the #1 business show. They just do it on Zoom. You got Chris Williamson on one end of the spectrum. He's dropping 50 bands, renting these absurd studios and 15 production guys. But then you've got kind of Joe Rogan, who's in the middle. It's like he's got a little room, 3 cameras, modest setup. And then you've got Zoom calls. So there is a range. But the key more than anything else is to just commit to the bit, right? If you can plan and say, the second I commit to this mentally, I'm going to at least do it for 52 weeks. There is 0 point in doing it for any less than that. Because to your point, your question earlier, there's a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of people. But most of the time we recommend at least give it 3 years and then incorporate video always.
When it comes to storytelling and content, are you recommending primarily YouTube, or is there value in content on Instagram and Facebook? And should it be different content on each social media platform to be effective?
This is an amazing question. So this is how I rank all the platforms. At the bottom, we have TikTok, in the sense that it is the most ephemeral platform I've ever seen. No one is going back to any one page and being like, I remember that one, like TikTok, I gotta watch that more. You watch it once and you're done. Instagram, I would say, is kind of the next tier up, where it is ephemeral, especially in the context of Reels, but you may follow a creator because you're like really interested in their get ready with me or their lifestyle, or, oh, they did this fun thing. So you'll follow that creator, so it's a little bit less ephemeral, but the loyalty factor is really not there. YouTube, I would say, you get 1 subscriber on YouTube, it's like the equivalent of 10 subscribers on TikTok. So there's kind of a way of ratioing and putting a measurement to that. With YouTube, the storytelling aspect of it is by far the best. You get the most data from YouTube. But it is reasonable to say that it may be the hardest to grow. So we have a lot of people that have, I have a client, he did YouTube by himself for 3 years. Half the time he forgot to turn on his microphone. But he did 300 episodes like this. And he was just so frazzled. He manages, he's got like 400 million assets under management. He's a brilliant guy. And so he did the work. So he came to me and he's like, I have gone through agencies, I have done it myself, this is a nightmare. And he couldn't get past 500. In less than a year, we have him at 7,500 subscribers right now. And one of the guests he had on his episode closed $250,000 worth in leads. And so the fact that YouTube has the highest threshold of converting, in my opinion, and so I think it is the one to be the most bullish on. But that being said, if you have a really good content team behind you, they can create shorts that can live on all these other platforms. This may be, I don't know, I'm not trying to be controversial. There is just a fundamental difference between understanding the American content appetite and people that are not in the country. So a common thing that we see with a lot of agencies is they'll farm out their editing bandwidth and their work to the Philippines or to Mexico or wherever else. And so they are learning American culture kind of secondhand. So we've made a very specific policy, like in our company, is I train all of the editors, and the aggregate results are that people resonate with our shorts more. It just costs more, but it's worth it. And so it's like you establish that trust factor, and then over time, your storytelling gets better, people trust you on YouTube. The spillover effect is that they'll then trust you on Instagram. I don't touch TikTok, though. I don't even have it on my phone. Yeah, anyways.
Okay, thank you so much, Brady.
All right, thank you, guys.
In the fast-paced world of retail, technology can be a transformative force, reshaping the way businesses operate and consumers shop. Is your retail organization leveraging technology to its top capabilities? Evolving your technology capabilities can help enhance visibility into your business, decrease risk of increasing cybersecurity incidents, accelerate productivity with artificial intelligence, and more. Deeply immersed in the consumer products industry, Baker Tilly professionals bring customized solutions that can help you find the right technology fit. Visit bakertilly.com to learn more.